Welcome to What Do You Think of This, where we are revisiting the best things from our past to let you know whether they're the best things for your future.
Yes, sir.
I'm Jeff Abiad. This is Josue Escobar.
What's up, everybody?
One thing that you don't account for when you are speaking into a microphone and putting headphones on your head is how loud a kazoo really is.
Oh, dude.
Last week, I'm like, my kazoo playing is just really off. If you watched our mini-sode, we played the kazoo. It was a good time.
They're so high-pitched.
When I listened back, I was like, oh, no, it was working fine. It was just whatever was happening in my head.
Oh, yeah.
But it was all to tease today's episode. Yeah. In a little bit, we're going to be talking about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which was not only an epic movie, but a favorite movie of mine. And then also brought up some not only feelings from the past, but it's just some other things that I can't wait to discuss today.
Yeah.
And then at the end of today's episode, I have some closing the loop that you are not going to want to miss, because this is one that I've been waiting to close, and I have answers.
Okay. I can't wait.
But, okay, we have now watched the movie, and we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But the song, the Bryan Adams song.
The one that's like teased a little bit in the middle of the movie, and then completely the end credits.
That in my head,
you thought it was
the biggest thing. I'm still convinced it must have been in the trailers for this movie.
It probably was, yeah.
And what I remembered afterwards, because I was listening to the song and driving my kids to school. Mm-hmm. And as we've discussed, algorithms have done a whole lot for music. So I put on, everything I do it for you, which I highly recommend you do as well.
Yeah.
And see what the algorithm gives
you. For you.
What the algorithm gives you after that.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about, sounds from the 90s and whatever.
Yeah.
I went on just a whole journey actually, of 80s and 90s power ballads.
That's crazy.
And it just made me laugh. I'm like, these songs, they all sound kind of the same, but they hit that really resonant spot where you're like, ooh, yeah. Look into my eyes. Like the whole vibe was like, oh,
a lot of Whitney Houston, probably.
Yeah, she came up. Celine Dion came up. Journey came up.
Oh my gosh.
I think we should probably create a playlist and put it on the page.
November Rain, was that one of them too?
Oh, I don't remember.
Roses?
I don't know that one.
Oh, really? That's a good one.
Yeah, where's the kazoo? Almost a few bars. And I was trying to explain to my kids and I think the other reason I know this song from this movie is I think it came up in school dances.
Oh, probably. I mean, you know what's funny? I don't think I ever went to. I didn't go to any school dances.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Not
Never?
Mine. No, I went to a prom, but it wasn't even for me. It was for my ex-girlfriend at the time.
At the time, she was your girlfriend? Or
no,
she was your ex-girlfriend at the time? Oh, I want more details. How long had you been broken up?
I don't know, like a year and a half.
And you went to prom together?
Yeah, because I had promised I'd go to prom with her when we were dating.
That's shady.
I'm a man of my word.
Why would she want that?
Well, she wasn't going to go.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't going to go to prom, and we talked. I forget why we were talking. We were catching up, whatever. And she's like, "I'm not going to go to my prom." I'm like, "Wait, what? Why not?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Because I don't have anybody to go to." And I was like, "Oh, go with." And I'm like, "Well, I did say I'd go with you. Like, we could just go as friends. Like, I didn't go to my prom or whatever." And she's like, "Okay, yeah."
Okay.
And we went.
Well, that's nice.
It was just me and her friends and other people, and it was pretty casual.
It's weird to think of you dating anybody else because I've known you and your wife now for so long. Yeah. I was thinking about that actually, because I was talking to my kids about dances and I was like, oh yeah, remember dating? Remember, it's been so long.
Yeah.
But I remember the school dances and my kids, they're getting into like now junior high and high school.
Oh gosh,
but the dances are not the same. Like they're actually getting out there and having fun dancing, which was a part of my dances. But I remember very much there being this kind of pressure of you're going to ask somebody to go with you. And this was in like junior high. And there's going to be slow songs. And at that point, the guys had been on one side of the gymnasium and the girls were on the other because we were all uncomfortable and awkward. But then Bryan Adams would come on and you would go and find your date and escort her to the middle of the gym. And you'd have your hands on her hips and she'd have her hands on your shoulders like this real
Did
far.
You guys have like people going, all right, nope, stay apart, guys. Stay apart.
Yeah, especially in the Christian school, you know? No, back then it wasn't as much of a problem. Boys to Men comes on and you're just like, you know, depending on how long you've been dating, maybe getting a little bit closer.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I do remember a little bit now at that prom. I did not dance.
No?
Nope. We just sat. I remember it was at Clarendon Ballroom, actually.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever been there?
I don't think so.
We were just in a booth with a table and we just hung out and sat and watched other people dance, but we didn't dance. I wasn't going to dance.
Those are the people of the dances. The dancers and the voyeurs, the one who just like make fun of everybody who wish that they were comfortable enough to go out there and dance.
Yeah. And I've never gone to like clubs and dance. I never had friends that wanted to do that either. So I can't relate to people who like went out and we're going to go to a club and you know whatever. Nope, never did that.
That was never my upbringing either, but dances were my thing because this was like my chance to be romantic and to get out there but not the upbeat music, but those slow songs, that was my jam.
I will say the only person that ever got me out on the dance floor is Elizabeth.
Oh, it is? Yeah.
When we were dating, she took me to swing dancing.
That's what I was going to say. In Echo Park, was it?
Yeah. A couple of times. One time. I don't remember, Elizabeth. Maybe you could
comment below. This is how we communicate with our wives. So.
No phone text or anything like that. No. Comment below, please.
Yeah, please.
And leave a thumbs up.
We need the engagement. Well, that's really funny. Yeah, it brought back a lot of fond memories, so I hope my kids have some of that in their future. I don't know what would be the slow songs now. I mean, I'm sure there's enough.
Yeah. I'm sure there is. I don't know.
I don't even want to guess.
I can't think of them right now. Anything I'm going to say, people are going to be like, no one's going to dance to that.
Yeah. Even the new stuff in my mind is old. Yeah. Whatever it is. Okay. So before we jump into
You think they danced in this movie?
What are you talking about?
Like in that time period?
Like medieval folk dancing. There
is no dancing in this movie. I know that, but
no,
I can't.
There are other romantic expressions.
I can't see people in this movie dancing.
Oh, come on! I can't see Robin of Locksley dancing, but he's kind of a renegade. Yeah. But I could definitely picture Marion out there, having a
that's true. Yeah, maybe
well-to-do whatever, where you kind of bow and curtsy, and then
what about the painted man? You think he would be dancing?
I think he got down back when his family was still alive. I think Friar Tuck be a real merry dancer.
Oh wait, there was dancing in this.
Yeah, they did dance. They danced.
All right, we got to get into this movie.
We do. Okay, but first I wanted to share this. I have like a little sentimental quote. I was thinking about our podcast and all this nostalgia stuff, and for a while I was avoiding the word nostalgia because I feel like it had this kind of gross connotation of like, oh, well, that's just nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm reading this book, or I'm now into the second book, but C.S. Lewis has this space trilogy where if you don't know it, I don't want to spoil too much of it because I think it's actually worth reading. He talks about this guy who ends up on this journey to another planet unexpectedly, but it's sort of grounded in reality in a way that you go, oh, this could kind of happen. And if you're familiar with C.S. Lewis, he's got a lot of spiritual undertones. Yeah. And so the messaging of what he's communicating on a spiritual level is still there too. So it's just a really cool perspective.
That's cool.
So you get this guy and he travels to this other planet and he's unexpectedly there meeting these other people. And so the first book is called Out of the Silent Planet because he finds out that all these other planets have inhabitants, but Earth has been sort of secluded off because of spiritual rebellion and all of this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So he learns this language of this planet and he's learning the culture of these people and trying to understand why they seem to be so much better off. And they're just he starts falling in love with this other culture and realizing humanity is really corrupt and depraved, And he's having this conversation in this other language. So I'm going to kind of skip through and just give you a couple lines here because it's really interesting. He's trying to get a sense for why on this planet they don't have like war or jealousy or infighting or all this other stuff. Yeah. And so he's asking this guy, there might be a couple words in here that won't make sense unless you read the book. If something is pleasurable to you, why wouldn't you want more of that? Because
of course,
on the earth, like that's what caused a lot of problems. We I really enjoy that. I want more, which is the human condition. And this other person from the planet doesn't get it. And he says, a pleasure is full grown only when it is remembered. Here's a tie-in to our show. You are speaking, human, he has another word for it, as if the pleasure were one thing and the memory was another thing. It's all one thing. What you call remembering is the last part of the pleasure. When you and I met, he says, the meeting was over very shortly. It was nothing. Now it is growing into something as we remember it. But still we know very little about it. What it will be when I remember it as I lie down to die in the future, what it makes me in all my days until then, that is the real meeting. The other is only the beginning of it. So he's saying like the experience, the thing that you experienced that happened, it's still happening. But now it's happening in your memory as you're reminiscing and talking and discussing and remembering it.
Wow.
Which I thought was such a great, like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Nostalgia,
I like that.
yeah, it's got some good things about it.
That's cool. It is bringing back being in the moment of that pleasurable moment again and again.
And that's what I love so much, especially as we've been friends for so long, or you have family or things that when you sit around a table and you're just having food or doing whatever, and you're like, hey, remember that time? Those are so great. And it's not just because, oh, well, way back then was so fun, but you're still, that moment still exists in the memory.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Can't tell me it's not worth fighting for. All right, let's get to it. Hit the intro.
Robin Hood is a movie about a guy who goes to fight in a war and then he comes back and all of his stuff is gone except his friend. And then he has to go and he robs from the rich to give to the poor, and he just tries to give back to people who don't have anything. And you should watch it if you like movies that have action and some love in it. And it also has some funny parts. And I didn't think I would like it, and then I ended up liking it, so I think you should watch it.
Well, you know, we're talking about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves today.
Are we?
We are. But if you have a suggestion for something in the future and you want us to hit that and revisit that nostalgic thing for you, you can email that to us at ideas@wdyt.show.
Where?
That's what do you think? Ideas@wdyt.show.
Nice.
Or you can just comment right underneath
Yes,
here.
comment on the bottom. Tell us what you want to watch.
We talked about this last time a little bit, but this movie came out in 1991.
Mm-hmm.
I was 9 years old. You were what, 6, 7, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I read since then that this massive hit of a movie grossed over $390 million worldwide, making it the second highest grossing film of 1991, only behind Terminator 2.
Wow.
Judgment Day. So this was a big deal, which in my memory it was too, but it was also one of the most expensive films of its time. The budget was about $48 million.
Jeez.
Which now is chump change,
Wow.
you know?
What other movie came out during this time? I'm trying to remember. There was a movie that came out pretty much around the same time that they were thinking about casting someone else for Kevin Costner's part. Some other movie that was really successful as well. Anyway.
Another movie that came out at the same time as Robin Hood, and they were considering him, but he was busy with this, you're saying?
Yeah. So they were going to cast some other well-known actor to be Robin Hood, but he was filming another movie he was on contract to film another movie at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Which released at the same time as this movie. Maybe I'll have to circle back on that one, but I was like, wait, what? That's crazy. And anyway, I didn't remember that both movies came out at the same time.
Well, what I did read is that the director for this, and I can't believe I didn't discover this earlier, Kevin Reynolds is the guy who directed this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He also directed Waterworld.
Oh, that's right.
Which I haven't seen. We
Crazy.
talked about. And he directed The Count of Monte Cristo.
That's so funny.
Isn't that nuts?
And there's like an overlap with one of the villains in this movie too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they knew each other.
Yeah.
Guy of Gisborne. Okay, so give us the general plot. Now, we talked about the plot of Robin Hood, but when I watched this movie for the first time, I was very familiar with the Disney 1973 classic or whatever year that was. But this took a different spin on it, yeah?
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it's gritty.
Mm-hmm.
It's darker. And I'm trying to remember this movie before watching this movie, I was thinking, oh yeah, this is epic. It's got a lot of action.
But you had said, like, you didn't really remember it as much coming back into this rewatch, right?
Not as much. Like, things were coming back to me that I remember. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember that. But watching this movie, I couldn't help but just laugh and see some of the really, like, campy things about this movie.
Oh, yeah. They lean into the humor a bit.
It reminded me a lot of another movie where they got their ideas from, Men in Tights.
Oh, for sure.
There were so many things in here that they were directly making fun of in this movie.
Yeah.
Because
It came out.
they weren't taking content from like the cartoon or from like other, maybe from other stuff, but they were specifically
This movie,
making fun of this movie, where I almost felt like this movie was made for that movie to be made because it was so much good content to take from and make fun of.
I think it was Clark who said when we watched it, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is like Men in Tights, but not as funny." I'm like, well, yeah, that's a little sad way to describe it, but it was, Men in Tights came out 2 years after this, and actually Carrie Elwes, who plays Robin Hood in Men in Tights,
they were immediately making this movie after they watched it. They're like, we got to make fun of this movie.
I read that they actually reached out to him to do this movie before they booked Kevin Costner. That actually Carrie Elwes, they wanted him to be Robin Hood in this movie. Yeah, and he said he turned it down because he ended up doing the other one later. But.
Yeah, but real quick, so this movie Robin Hood. I mean, I know a lot of people probably know this. Maybe younger viewers don't, but maybe they do.
I think this one gives you backstory that I didn't get from the cartoon, and I don't know if the other ones do it. But right from the start.
Yeah.
When he's like in the Crusades and stuff, when you're watching the you're not getting that at all.
Not at all.
You're like, oh, look at him and Little John, best buddies. This is not that.
No, this is not that. You know, guy, he comes from, is his family like royalty? Is his family
Yeah,
like
his dad
something
owns
like that?
land. He's a landowner.
Yeah,
He's a lord
so
or
he comes
something.
from money, and he's on the Crusades with his best friend. And
is he his best friend?
Well, because
they grew up together.
They grew up
for sure.
together. For sure. Yeah, because there was
it's Marion's brother.
Yeah,
Peter.
And so he's in the Crusades. He finally gets back home after 6 years of the Crusades, and there's a little issue there I have with that. But
okay,
he comes home to find out that the King of England is out doing the Crusades.
Yeah, King Richard is still gone.
Yep, he's still gone, and the sheriff of Nottingham, for some reason, I don't understand how he has so much power, and he's scheming to take the throne because the king's not there, so he wants to take the. So when the king comes back, he would have no throne.
There's no Prince John in this movie.
Yeah. And so he comes back home to find out that his father was being accused of devil worship and whatever, and they killed him, and he has nothing now. And the sheriff of Nottingham is just oppressing people, and it's terrible. And he starts to basically fight back. And that's where the whole take from the rich, give to the poor. But basically, he's taking from the corrupt and taking people's stuff back, basically, because they're just, being taxed and what's the word? Anyway, it's not fair. And he's taking from the rich, giving it back to the poor, taking from the oppressed government, giving it back to the people. And the people are all behind him and support him. And he...
Sort of. It takes a while.
A little, yeah, but not that big of a while.
Well, there's a montage.
Yeah.
But Robin Hood proves his character, and I think that's the selling point of this movie and why you get behind him as a hero.
Yeah.
From his dad's perspective and him, you see him that even though he's raised with a lot of money, he actually not only is courageous, but he has a good ethic, morality.
Yeah.
He cares about other people. And then all of these things at the beginning of the movie set him on a path to really dig into that foundation and then to try and lead by example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then, I guess I don't spoil the movie, but he does succeed in getting the people to kind of overthrow this bad guy. And then King Richard comes back, and he's grateful to him because this guy's schemes didn't go all the way through. He was able to come back and still have the throne.
Which is kind of the general Robin Hood story.
Yeah.
What I like about this one, like you said, and I've said last week, I remembered it being grittier, and it definitely was. Whatever this version was that we watched was not the theatrical cut.
No, it wasn't.
There was a lot of extra stuff in here where I'm like, I do not remember this satanic worship being quite so, we'll get to it in a second, but it's really in your face. But I think because of the era when I watched this movie and how young I was, because like I said, I was like 9 or 10. And I don't remember owning it. So I think there was a period of a year or two where I maybe was at my cousin's house and we would watch it. And this is the same cousin I grew up watching the animated one with. So it's probably why it resonated.
Yeah.
There are some moments in this movie that really stand out in my mind that I think as a kid maybe just shocked me a bit. Like right at the start where they're cutting off people's hands.
Ooh, yeah.
And as a kid, I remember like really being like shocked by that. And then, you know, the whole stuff with the witch and the egg and the blood.
The blood egg?
Yeah. All that stuff. I just remember it being really kind of gross and standing out in my mind, and like that sort of violence where it wasn't, I don't feel like this movie was overly violent, but there were some moments where you're like, oh, that'll stick in your memory.
Yeah.
You know? She was so ugly.
She was really ugly. That the beginning, I thought, wow, this movie is PG-13?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute.
I think this version was R.
The version that we watched, maybe.
It may have been, because I read that they had to scale it back.
Yeah.
It was a little bit too intense on the original release, and so they did this director's cut.
Oh my gosh.
Especially the satanic elements. The sheriff, like Alan Rickman in this. So Alan Rickman plays Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. And I think, you know, you said it was a little bit funny and campy, but they came to him a few times to do this movie, and he kept turning them down. And he finally agreed when they gave him sort of a carte blanche, like, do whatever you want. So a lot of these iconic moments are ad-libbed. He's like, just wanted to take it, and he thought it was kind of flat in the script, so he would just do like, I'll dig your heart out with a spoon. Ad-lib.
Why a spoon, cousin? Because it's dull, you twit. It would hurt more.
That moment, like, was it scripted when he's walking down that hallway and he's like, you, come to my room, 10:30. You, 10:45.
Yeah,
Bring a friend.
Bring a friend.
Yeah.
I don't think that was scripted.
It couldn't have been.
I think this was him going, this movie is stupid. Which I don't think the movie's stupid, but watching this back, gradually I was thinking, this movie is not as good as I remembered it.
Oh, really?
I didn't think the acting. I mean, Kevin Costner's acting,
He
delivery
does
of his
not
lines.
have an English accent. If you can just get over that at the beginning, you'll be better off for it. There is no convincing accent here.
I mean, but the way he delivers lines. Have you watched Dances with Wolves?
Oh, man. Maybe once. What? Does that one also have some like questionable?
Well, the way he narrates that movie a little bit, like he's writing in his diary.
Oh.
And when I met the Indian, you know, I did not think that he was going to be a friend, but now he is my friend.
Okay.
Some of the lines that Kevin Costner delivers are the same. Maybe they're just monotone or something. I don't know.
It's just him. He's himself as Robin Hood.
It's really, it's not.
Because you get that really menacing
great.
when he first comes across Guy of Gisborne and he saves a kid who's killing the king's deer.
Yeah.
And he fights all the men, right? And then he's like, may I have the pleasure of your name before I have you run through? And then he reverses it after he beats them all up and he puts his sword to he's like, now can I have your name before I run you through? And you're like, okay,
what?
I get it. You know, or he has a couple like really like heroic lines like that.
Yeah.
Like, then by God, we fight back, you know? And you're like, okay, you know. I liked when they're going into Sherwood Forest and Duncan, who's the father's servant who's blind now, is like, oh, but the ghosts, master. And he's like, well, either we take our chances with the ghosts or we become ghosts ourselves.
Yeah.
Those lines were like, well, they were fine.
It's so, there's some of the lines in some of the acting, like Marion, when she is running away from Kevin Costner.
Uh-huh.
And the way she's running is like, oh, I have to run now.
What are you talking about? What part of the movie is this?
So right before when he goes to meet her afterwards, and he takes their horses, she's like, hey, they're coming, get them, take my horses. That whole scene when she's talking about, I just remember you as a bully who used to burn my hair. Wait, hold on. You used to burn this girl's hair?
Yeah.
And second of all, let me go back. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of this.
Okay, here we go.
So he's on the Crusades. He's been there for 6 years.
With Peter.
He's like 30 something.
That's what I kept wondering. Well, how old are you?
And when he goes back, people are like, oh, the boy has grown up.
The priest, I see the face of a boy I knew
Wait,
in this man's body.
You mean he's only been gone for 6 years and he's 30, so that means he would have been like 20 something. So he wouldn't have changed that much, people.
I think you can't take it that literally. I think what happened is he obviously matured. You know what I mean? So say he's 30 and when he left he was 24.
I think maybe he was supposed to be like 18 or 19 when he left.
Maybe, and Kevin Costner's just a little older.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, he was a spoiled rich kid.
It's
and
the
then he
same
went
thing.
off, and like he said, he saw
I
enough
don't
blood
know.
for 2 lifetimes.
To change your face so people don't recognize you?
Not so people don't recognize you, but so they don't recognize who you are now.
Well, Marion didn't recognize him.
No, she
She
knew.
fought him.
No, she knew.
She just wanted to do that to him?
He shows up at Maid Marian's house after he finds his dad. By the way, another visceral scene, just burnt and eaten by crows or whatever.
Waterworld, he puts another person. There's another person in a cage like that. In
Yeah,
Waterworld.
that was pretty intense. And obviously, Duncan with his eyes that had been put out. All this stuff.
Okay, so Morgan Freeman.
Wait. Let me just say. So he goes to Marion's house
Yeah.
with these guys, which we'll talk about in a second. And he knocks on the door and they won't let him in.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he comes in once they finally do let him in and they're like, interviewing him. I think that whole time she knows who he is. It's no doubt that this is Robin of Locksley. I think he maybe it took him a little bit to get in the door because things are sketchy right now in England.
Yeah.
But also, she's like, I don't like you. You were a jerk to me. You were just like my neighbor who knew my brother. You were my brother's friend and you were never nice to me.
Yeah.
And so get out of my house. I have other things to take care of. People are trying to do way worse things.
Yeah.
So I think that was a vibe. It wasn't like, I don't know who you are.
Maybe. I think they could have sold that better though.
Well, I don't know. I like the scene where where she comes into the light and he's like, and he obviously thinks she's hideous, and he's like, "The years have been kind to you.
6 years have not
Thank you. Now get out of my house."
That's the thing that really didn't sell it to me. Like the 6-year portion of it.
Oh, I didn't mind.
Gone for
I didn't
6
mind
years. Like really, you're not gonna. You would look at her and be like, "That's not you. You can't from when I saw you 6 years ago to this. Like no."
But
way.
I don't even think that he saw her on the regular when he did live there. I think he was off doing his own thing. He was probably at Nottingham College, and she's working on her family's estate, and he's out there just drinking every night with the boys.
I guess a little suspension of disbelief there.
Him and Peter. I don't know what it was like in England in 1150 or whatever year this was.
I guess time would the roughness of all the stuff you have to go through back then.
Life
would
expectancy
change you.
probably wasn't more than 50.
That's pretty true. Yeah, that's true. Well, so anyway, going back to
You said Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman in this movie.
I like him in this.
He was really good. I think his accent wasn't any better. I don't think, maybe a little bit, but I think he was definitely at a better stage acting wise than Kevin Costner was. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he just has a little more skill in that sense than maybe Kevin does. I don't know.
Maybe. He was doing an accent for sure. I like the two of them together. I thought it was so funny. Like, Robin Hood is obviously this, not carefree, but rich kid that grew up. And then Morgan Freeman is playing this wizened Moorish man, Azim.
Yeah.
And he's kind of mysterious. But then you get Robin Hood poking fun at him, you know? And I thought that vibe of back and forth was very funny.
It was, they definitely have really good moments. One of the questions I had in this movie too is how does he sheathe and unsheathe his sword?
That thing is intense. I don't know. It's so big on the one end. If you pull it out,
Yeah.
was it just wrapped in a cloth? I have no idea how that
No,
worked.
if you look at the sheath, it's like a regular. So it's wide at the tip, and it's short.
Yeah.
And the sheath is the same shape.
It's like a saber.
So how does it come out?
But there must be an
Go
answer
back
to
in.
this because those swords do exist.
They do, but I don't know if you sheath those.
I don't think you do either. Did he?
Yeah. Yeah. How does it come out?
It was in
of it?
something. Maybe it's just open on one side.
Maybe.
Which does nothing.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
But Morgan Freeman was really good in this. I love how, I don't know, they didn't really touch on this a lot, but the Crusades, what was happening in the beginning was, the Christians trying to take back Jerusalem, from the Muslims.
And he even says his father he thought it was a dumb like endeavor to go and try and convert somebody with war.
By
which
force, yeah,
Which is
exactly.
kind of speaking to it as an observer even now.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is really cool that they put that in there. And you know, Morgan Freeman keeps calling him a Christian.
Christian,
Christian.
which way is east in this godforsaken land? Where's the sun?
I'm 5 miles. I'm 5 miles from my home.
No.
I know this land like the back of my hand.
You're making it way worse than it was. I thought he did a good job. There were a couple moments, though, I think because I've watched Robin Hood Men in Tights so many times that when you go back and watch the castle being destroyed, you expect them to drag it away. Or even Duncan, you know, as like when he's like, let me fight, master, point me in the right. I'm like, oh, in my head, I can see this. But when the kid comes running from the men, you know, and he climbs up the tree and stuff, and the guy of Gisborne is like, cut it down.
With a battle axe.
Yeah, one guy, it's a giant, it's like the size of this room, and he's got his one axe. He's like, well, it's my job. I'm guessing I'm going to be here for 3 weeks cutting this giant tree down. That guy is unhinged.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He deserved to die way before he did.
Oh, man. But yeah, dude, the whole beginning of the movie, the setup of the movie, I think was pretty good.
Yeah. So if we can talk actors for a second, because Kevin Costner was really well known. At this point, people know who Morgan Freeman is.
Yeah.
Some of the other people, like the woman who plays Maid Marian, I didn't really know her. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. I'm looking it up.
That's her name.
Yeah, that's what I got on my notes here.
Mastrantonio, yep.
Christian Slater is in this.
That's right. Yeah, really young too.
There was a man from Nottingham that tried to cross a river. What a dope! He tripped on a rope. Now look at him shiver. Except he can't sing on key, you know?
Yeah. What is it? Pop goes the weasel.
Yeah.
That's what the rhyme was from.
And that's another thing that sticks out of my mind. When you think about this movie and Christian Slater, did you remember the part where Robin Hood fires an arrow through his hand?
No, I did not.
Dude.
That was pretty crazy.
I remember that very well. And he's just like, whoop, guess I'm leaving now.
Yeah, dude, that was really cool though. That was a good shot.
Did you recognize Michael McShane, who plays Friar Tuck?
No.
He's in some other movie that I think, help me here, had Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin in it. So I don't know if it was Richie Rich or something like that, where he plays like a scientist or a...
Oh.
I can't remember the movie, but I can see him in my head, and I think it was not long after this.
He reminded me of the fat dude in
I thought you were going to say Jurassic Park.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, I've never seen it.
The first one?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I know, we got a
Here we
long
go
list
again,
of
guys.
stuff. I don't know the actor, Nick Brimble, who played Little John, but I thought he did a good job in this too.
Yeah.
So this is the subverting of the story tropes that I knew growing up, because I'm like, oh yeah, Robin Hood, Little John, they're best friends. Yeah. And then he comes into this and you're like, oh, Little John's trying to kill him, you know?
It's John Little.
Yeah.
His name is John Little.
And he keeps poking at him.
Yep,
Yeah. Like making fun of him.
That was a cool scene too. I mean, they go into the wood because they're running away from the sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, because he beat up his men.
Yep. Yeah. And his horse is hurt. They're running away. That's the scene, right? The scene prior is when Marion is like,
yeah, they steal her horses.
They steal her horses, but that's in that same time period where she like is upset with him and has to like she runs away from him a little bit.
Yeah,
but he catches back up to her. It's like, I'm a changed man. That's that.
Well, he doesn't do that. He goes and lives in the forest for a little bit, and then for a couple days, and then he goes to get money at the church. They give out alms on Sunday, and she's praying, and he comes and kneels by her, you know, and that's when she tells him to take a bath.
Oh, no. And yes. No, I'm talking about before that.
He catches up with her before that?
Oh, they shoot the horse.
This extended movie was very long, by the way.
they shoot the horse. Oh, yeah, you're right. They shoot the horse after that, after that portion.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's running off into the forest.
You're right. Anyway, it's just so they go to the forest, and this little battle happens on the water.
Yeah.
Right, which was pretty cool.
I thought it was good. Good music.
And the medallion, he's like, I don't have anything. I just lost my family, lost my whatever riches and stuff like that. But he's like, you have 2 servants, and you're like, you have us believe that you don't have any money. And it's really, so on the course of the movie, it's really funny to me that they can't find their hiding place.
Well, they're just spooked out.
But then they don't figure out that it's just guys in the woods.
No. Well, I don't know.
And it's also the most not well hidden place in this entire.
But you get when they
finds it.
when they run into the forest, it's very ominous kind of looking. Even Guy of Gisborne doesn't want to go in there.
Yep.
And they go in. And then Duncan is freaked out, but you can see they hung up some wind chimes. Like they're doing stuff to make it more intimidating. There's a lot of them in there, but I think the Sherwood Forest is a lot larger.
It is, yeah. It's supposed to be super, super big so that they don't find all the people there.
Yeah, and once Robin, like at some point, he rises up, right? And he decides, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to lead these men. And he basically just forces himself on them.
And is this when the montage happens of them all learning how to fight?
Yeah, he's like, why don't we all fight back? We have the
bows.
forest and food. It's when Little John's family gets kicked out of their home when the sheriff starts fighting back, right?
And they burn down their village.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Every time there's a Robin Hood movie, they burn our village down. Sorry.
Yeah.
Different movie. Yeah. And so, but he's like, oh, we have food enough to eat here and we have enough wood to make weapons. And I'm like, I started looking at these bows that they're crafting. I'm like, I don't know what craftsman is making these bows. And then they started laying out a bunch of fresh swords. Like, what are you using to make these?
Yeah, for real. Because they were melting down some metal to make the tips of the arrows.
Yeah, I don't know how.
And then
any of
the
that.
next scene, you see a bunch of swords.
You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to think about that.
Maybe they stole all the metal.
I thought that too.
Or they melted down all the money that they were getting from.
Just made out of gold doubloons. One of my kids asked me even when they first came across Duncan, because I know I'm going back and forth here, but when he first comes home and he finds his house, his old estate like devastated, and Duncan comes creeping out, right, without any eyes. And my kid's like, what has he been eating while he's just sitting alone in this burnt down house for however many weeks?
That's true. How is he surviving?
I have no idea.
He's probably eating rats. Can he even see?
He can't see him.
Can't see him.
He barely knows Robin Hood is there.
Well, maybe he was just held up in the like storehouse or like, where the pantry or something.
They didn't burn that down. He's in the cellar just drinking wine and eating cheese.
Yeah, maybe. We didn't say why Morgan Freeman's character is even in this.
Well, they were in prison together.
They were in prison together, and he saved his life.
Yeah, so he's got like a life debt.
Yes, I can take you. I can get you out of here, and now that you saved my life, I have to save yours in order to be done with this life debt. But he kept saying like, I choose when.
Yeah, which was very funny. Like, it doesn't include prayer times or meal times or any time I'm outnumbered 6-1. You know.
So like, there's multiple times where I feel like, oh, you definitely saved his life here. You're pretty much done.
Yeah, but he says a little bit later that he really has nothing to go back to.
Yeah, exactly. So he's doing it because he wants to stay.
He likes this guy, and he's not admitting it right from the start.
I think that's the thing with Robin Hood is that he's likable.
Yeah.
And that's why people follow him. Because he tells them, like, I will lead these people right in front of Little John.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay, I guess you are. I'll follow you. Because Little John was the one in charge.
Yeah,
John
sort of.
Little.
Yeah.
He was the one kind of guiding them.
But he gets it because they weren't thriving in the forest. They were just barely making it. And now he sees the potential there. And Robin Hood is obviously the one doing it. And I will say,
whole like town in there.
Yeah, the best tree fort you've ever seen.
Yeah, with like weighted ropes to come down and up and down from the treetop. It's pretty cool.
I loved that as a kid. I'm like this. I was so sad when it got burnt down. I was like, oh, it's so devastating. But I think the charm of Kevin Costner in that position as Robin Hood would not have worked if he tried to put on a fake accent. I think if he would have done it, you would have lost that whole element.
I contributed his accent to him just being well traveled. Right? That's what I just thought that, and it made everything okay. I'm like, oh yeah, of course he doesn't have a great English accent because he's well traveled.
He's been around.
He's been gathering accents from all over the place. He's got his own. Yeah. Maybe he went to the States for a while, the new world, where there was no states then.
Nope. He's speaking Cherokee.
He knows Cherokee.
Yeah.
Tatanka.
And then it pretty much plays out like you would expect. I think the Alan Rickman, Sheriff of Nottingham character is sufficiently ominous while also being funny, which is weird because you think, like when you look at like Three Musketeers or even Count of Monte Cristo at times when they try and be funny and it doesn't quite land, something about it in this movie for me landed a little bit better. And I don't know if it was the production budget
Yeah.
Because I didn't find the acting terrible. I thought the rapport between the actors and the dynamic between them worked. I was never like taken out of the movie by it, other than, okay, I mean, maybe the accent isn't awesome, but I liked them as characters.
I don't know. I think the acting was, it felt to me like they were just reading the lines and not really like changing them themselves. Really? Yeah, a little bit. I don't know why I felt that way. I guess it's because the Alan Rickman stuff made me, instead of making me laugh, it made me not believe that this could happen in this realm, because he was being so throwaway with his quips.
Yeah.
Shut up, you twit.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just so outlandish. You know, he was so ridiculous.
I'm very used to it, so it didn't really strike me that way. I knew the character. But when he, like, even at the beginning when they were about to burn down Locksley Manor and he takes his mask off all ominously, and my kids are like, is that Snape? Is that Snape? Like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he's in this movie.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know, because you've seen Die Hard.
Yeah.
I have not. So in that movie, does he play it like kind of this kind of a character? I know it's in a different time period and stuff.
He kind of, it's funny because the 90s, these characters all played themselves, they just played themselves almost. Like even when you finally see the King of England is, what's his face?
Sean Connery. Who played Robin Hood in a previous movie. We talked about that.
Yeah, he plays Sean Connery. Sean Connery is Sean Connery in every single.
He's a cameo. Yeah, he's just himself. So
I think Alan Rickman really plays kind of similar in all of his roles. Maybe not as crazy as this one, but still the accent and one of the things that I noticed about this movie too is production wise, the camera lenses they used for the close-ups for the Sheriff of Nottingham's
Guy of Gisborne.
How the close-up, with the super wide lens. Mm-hmm. Did you notice that they used that a bunch of times in this movie? Oh, really?
I didn't think about it.
It was really funny. It was weird because it's like this almost fisheye lens because it's so wide, but then super close up.
I guess I do. I can't remember that.
They look really narrow, their faces.
Yeah.
They did that a few times, and I'm like, and then they really only did that with Guy a bunch of times. They didn't do it as many times with Alan Rickman, but I thought that was a unique kind of thing that this movie did that I don't think I've seen in a lot of movies in this type of movie. And it's funny that they didn't do it in Robin Hood Men in Tights, but maybe they did. But
yeah, I'll have to go back and watch it.
I did think that the acting between Alan Rickman and Guy, I think they were really good bad guys.
Yeah.
In that sense. And like when they were doing their stuff, it really, their motivation was, I don't know, I guess better thought out, of why he wanted to do what he was doing. Because the witch lady is telling him, oh, you got to kill Robin Hood and the Painted Man because I see them in a vision. So it's like that whole
I have seen our death.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, if you
the Painted Man.
You can't really stop it, So this whole thing of like, that's why he's going after him so hard.
Yeah.
Even though he's really upset with him taking money and all that stuff, foiling his plot. But at the same time, it all starts with, I got to go after him first. And just the back and forth with like.
Cousin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was really good. And the way he finally fails the last time and he kills him.
I was just going to say that.
Very Darth Vader type moment where it's like, you failed me, so I'm going to kill you.
We can't allow Robin Hood to, what does he say, outwit us, and I can't allow my lieutenant to fail me.
Yeah.
And he just, with a fresh sword, just stabs him.
Good steel.
Yeah, he doesn't even care. And I think that plays well to the character, though. He's very unhinged. Like, you don't know what he's going to do. He's just like off the rails.
Yeah, he's psychotic.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
And self-obsessed. And I think it's talk about people pursuing pleasure and selfishness and whatever. Like, it's his whole thing.
Yeah.
And he gets that giant statue made of himself, And
that somebody paints the scar on it.
The stitches.
The stitches. He doesn't go like, who did this? And try to find them. He's just like a whiny little, he's a whinge.
He is kind of that Prince John, like he kind of fuse those characters together, and he's that. Like when
That's
you think of
true,
Prince
yeah.
John, even in the animated one, or how ridiculous he is. He is kind of ridiculous.
It's so crazy. It's so funny how this movie played out. My expectation of it now, watching it now, was blown away. I don't know what I thought when I was a kid when I watched this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I also though. Okay, so we like nowadays Disney is remaking so many movies.
Yeah, for sure.
If we can just take this animated movie and make it real, people will love it. And people keep seeing these movies, but there's something about it, at least for me, that doesn't sell. And I know Disney didn't make this version of Robin Hood, and Robin Hood exists as another story. But the experience that I remember of knowing this animated version and then seeing, oh, but this is it, really resonated with me as a viewer. Even the Merry Men thing and watching them all come together in the montage and all these kind of goofy guys come together, and now they're like stealing from rich people in the woods, but it's exactly what I imagined it would be, and they're living in trees, and all that stuff for me as a viewer really worked. It was like, oh, this is like real life.
Yeah.
And it's still funny, and it's like, it's not really playing out like this, but I think that adventure aspect was what
I think it
drew
was.
me in.
I was expecting more. It's funny because I noticed a bunch of stuff that I feel like I've noticed in other movies, and this movie came out first. And so I'm like, oh.
Like what?
Like The Patriot. These guys are going through the woods and they just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Is that like that kind of thing happens in The Patriot, and they're hiding in the woods, and they've got like they have to hide underneath the like that was very Mel Gibson, The Patriot type ambush. That's the word I was trying to look for. Like that ambush scene. I was like, oh, dude, the Patriot did something like this. That was cool. And then they get onto that catapult. Yeah. And they go over the wall.
And Christian Slater's like, F me, they made it.
That was like Pirates of the Caribbean type of like goofball thing that, come on. Oh, there's hay. Conveniently, there's hay on the other side. Like, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, this movie inspired so many other people to do some of these things. Yeah.
And I like, though, that it's a serious movie that doesn't take itself seriously.
That's true.
Like they fully are aware that that's ridiculous.
I think that's what messed me up. I think I was taking it way too serious.
Yeah.
I think I thought nostalgia-wise, I thought this movie was a completely different level than I thought.
You were expecting the Ridley Scott, Russell Crowe.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, geez. So anyway.
Well, when Friar Tuck comes into the woods, right? And I, again, remember the animated character and how he loves Robin Hood and whatever. And this drunk old friar comes out, he's singing, and then they trap him, like you said, ambush, all that stuff happens. They're hiding in the woods and they capture him. And then you think, oh, okay, now he's going to be one of the merry men. But he keeps fighting. He kicks Robin Hood in the face,
Yeah.
Like that, it was like still gritty, but still funny. And then he's like, after the montage, teaching, he's supposed to be their like religious leader.
Yeah, exactly.
And what does he say? He's like, this is grain, which anybody can eat, but the good Lord created for more divine purposes.
For me.
Beer. Let's give thanks for beer.
Which is really funny. It's a real thing back in the day. Priests used to make beer and sell beer for funds for the church.
Oh, that's funny.
Back in the day, that's a real thing.
That priest or bishop or whatever he is in this movie is the most, he's like Richelieu in Three Musketeers, but I don't know. He's so like, not as smarmy, but just really corrupt. Yeah. Like when he dies, you're like, well, thank God.
You wouldn't kill another man of the
cloth,
would you? He's like, oh no, here, let me help you get all this money.
Yeah.
Pushes him out.
You're going to need this and this and this.
And then 30 pieces of silver.
Yeah.
Pushes him out. It's like, wow, that friar was very devoted to the cloth, or devoted to his theology.
I think he'd seen enough fake religion that he was just done with it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. He wasn't pretending to be something he wasn't.
No. Robin does eventually take a bath on Marion's advice. And I want to know, how was his shirt so white in the forest? I mean, He was, I don't know what detergent that the merry men used, but he was looking fresh.
So was his backside.
Yeah.
He had no tan.
I do remember that being pretty scandalous too.
And Maid Marian, she's like,
Oh,
he's like 60 like yards away or whatever, however far away. He's probably like maybe half a mile away. And she's all like,
well, yeah.
he's like this big to her. We can all we see
We get the close
we
up.
get the close up. You don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just like, why is this in here?
Yeah. So anyway, the movie wraps up by basically the sheriff recruits all of these other lords and these Celtic people.
Yeah, that's
gets,
right.
It
Yeah,
gets weird. And again, this was weirder than the version that I remember with all these extra scenes.
he hires Celtic. Yeah.
On the advice, too, of this witch woman,
Yeah.
who apparently is his mother.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was not in the version I saw as a kid. Like his, what? What happened? What just happened? Also, the bit where she's like peering through her creepy eye, you know?
Yeah.
I don't remember that either. Was
Really?
that in the original?
I don't remember.
She was really something also.
She was crazy.
My kids at first wondered if she was Maggie Smith. I'm like, no, you know.
Maggie Smith? Which
Yeah.
was Maggie Smith?
You know, Wendy from Hook. She plays McGonagall.
No way.
You
No,
know,
she's not. Oh my gosh. That end where he's trying to marry Maid Marian.
The sheriff. So first they attack them in the woods.
Yep. And
they burn down all the tree houses, which is
falls.
devastating.
Everybody thinks he's dead.
Yep.
Because they can't find, they can find a
They
body.
capture Marian, who had run away to Sherwood Forest. Yep.
Yep. And they follow the blind man,
Yeah, Duncan.
back, which is
Yeah.
crazy. It's supposed to be a secret place. They blindfolded her. She went onto a boat so she wouldn't see how to get there. Duncan's blind.
His horse knows the way.
His horse?
Yeah. Horses are like that, right?
I don't know, man.
I don't
That
know
was
either,
crazy.
but I didn't have any problem
It's
with that.
very
Like,
easy
oh,
to
yeah,
find that secret hideout. Anyway,
Not so secret. To the trees.
did Little John mention that was his eighth? His wife said that was their eighth kid.
Oh, something like that. When she's giving birth and that whole scene again, trauma as a kid. I remember this whole thing going, but he's like, I've seen this done many times with horses.
And I need, what does he say? A hot water and a needle.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, what
What are you doing? Yeah. Bite down on this. I can still see that in my head. This movie really made an imprint on me as a kid.
And then, yeah, so he's alive. You know, they don't know this, but he's alive. Maid Marian, they make her believe that he's dead. He's gonna take her to be his wife, so that he can now be like royal blood.
He wants to produce some sort of a royal heir.
Yeah.
On his mother's advice, who's the witch or whatever.
So he forces the priest to marry them.
Yeah.
Anyway, the people that were caught from the Sherwood Forest, they're all going to be hung. So there's this whole plot to save them all.
Well, because Will Scarlet, who you find out is Robin Hood's
That's right.
illegitimate brother
Yeah.
and resentful, goes to betray him.
Yeah.
And then he just gets rounded up with the rest of them to be hung.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny. There's a scene in the movie where they show you that, my gosh, what is Morgan Freeman's character's name? Azim has
It means great one.
yeah, he has and he tells him, you truly are a great one. He has so much experience, or he's kind of like he's really intelligent. Because you see that he makes a telescope, like a binocular.
Yeah. He always telescope, yeah.
A telescope or a single binocular. And what does he say to him when he's like?
Because Robin Hood looks through it and he sees the men all close and he's like,
And he's all like,
"Ugh."
oh, and like how?
It's like, how did your kind ever take Jerusalem? Your uneducated kind ever take Jerusalem?
And then he shows them how to make explosish using gunpowder, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, man, this is mad. What kind of sorcery magician thing is this? And anyway, I thought that was really funny because did you know that the Arab people came up with algebra and a lot of sciences, a lot of
I know this very well.
prices.
The numbers we use right now are Arabic numerals.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, anyway, it's great. Anyway.
It's great. Math. We love it.
Yeah.
So he tries at the end, and it all culminates in this big climactic scene where Azim comes in and essentially saves him by killing this witch
Yeah, that's right. Because they fight. They fight in the tower, which he's such a crazy scene where he finally marries her, and then like she's like, "Go ahead and consummate, like have a baby
And
now."
she's right there.
It's like, what? How gross!
It's all so gross.
Do you mind?
Castle.
We were just married. He's like that. Finally, they fight. He kills him. Sorry, spoiler alert, he kills him. But the witch is still alive. Comes after him. Azim kills her
with the spear,
like,
right?
Yep. And now my debt is paid.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And they get married. The king comes back. Thank you for protecting my
It's King
throne.
Richard.
And everything gets tied up in a nice little bow at the end.
And then Friar Tuck breaks the fourth wall. He like winks at the camera at the end.
Oh, that's
Doesn't he say? I
right.
can't remember what he says, but he winks at the audience. And then the most iconic song in my mind of this entire movie doesn't even come on at the beginning of the credits. It was I Texted You. I'm like, the song doesn't come on until halfway through the credits.
Exactly. I had to fast forward too to get to that.
They do seed it through though. Like when
yeah.
he first meets Marion before the Azim with the telescope thing, there it's like in there in a minor key, or the song is there.
It's also there when she's about to get on the boat and
Yes.
leave. Yeah, it's there a little bit too. So
yeah.
golly, this movie was. I mean, yeah, it was long. I would say Alan Rickman was great. He was just funny.
What'd you think of the music?
You know what? I can't recall the music.
Because even at the beginning,
not that great. I don't know.
At the beginning, like when they set up the credits, and it was like, ba 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 ba. It's like it almost felt like we would just watch Mighty Ducks, like a sports movie, like that vibe of like triumph over whatever. So I looked it up. The guy's name is Michael Kamen, who composed this.
Mm-hmm.
He also composed some music for Mr. Holland's Opus, which when I saw that, I thought, oh. That does, and I don't know how well you remember that movie.
Yeah,
we should totally watch it. I think it's great. But he composed the music for Lethal Weapon.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of them, I think. Die Hard with a Vengeance, he composed.
That was very there was moments of this movie that was very Lethal Weapon-y too. It was funny.
That's what I mean. You start to like connect the dots and go, oh, this feels the same. He composed the music for Highlander. I don't know what Metallica S&M is that came out in 2000, but some Metallica something. And X-Men 2000.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this guy is like
Crazy.
like a known guy,
Prolific.
I suppose. Prolific, yeah. But I thought it worked. I don't think it was bad. I didn't go like, oh, that score. Like sometimes Hans Zimmer, you go like, wow, this guy's really doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it fit the genre.
Yeah. Yeah, Hans. Yeah, it's not very much. It's not very epic as you can. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. You know, watching the trailers. If you watch the trailers, there's moments. It's funny because he doesn't. You think Robin Hood, you think bow and arrows.
Yeah, that doesn't even come out until way later.
Like it's an hour and a half before you see him,
the first time was when he shot it through Will's hand, right? When he's out there in the woods and then he comes around and then I was like, oh, he has a bow now.
Is it the first time or the second time? Because don't they show, was it where he splits an arrow?
I think it's after
before or
that.
after?
I think it's right after
crazy.
the training montage.
Yeah.
He splits the arrow in twain.
And then they kind of faked you out because if you watch a trailer of him like shooting an arrow and like the flames in the background, that scene.
Yeah.
That scene in the movie is way small. The flames in the background are way smaller. They CGI'd that up for the
or whatever
for the trailer.
they did at the time. Yeah.
Reshot it maybe, but then put it in the movie because he shoots his arrow while it's fired up and there's flame behind him, but it's way smaller. It's not as epic.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Well,
so I wonder what happened there.
I don't know either. But when we come to what we think about this movie, last week when I pitched this to all of you, I said, one, it's grittier and a little bit more violent, maybe not as kid appropriate. I don't know if you watched this with your children.
We were going to, but I didn't like I think if I would have gotten through the first half an hour of it, I think maybe.
Yeah.
But the first half an hour is pretty dark.
It's really intense. And then later on, it gets pretty intense. Yeah. I will say nobody's head got pinned to a tree like I thought, but we did get an arrow through a hand.
Yeah.
and
I don't know how I would have felt if they would have watched the very end when he's trying to like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even Men in Tights is a little like, maybe we shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah.
The story, though, I still feel like was compelling. I came into it and I still enjoyed the story. I said, well acted. And I will say, and this is not talking about accents, but I still liked the vibe of the characters. I felt like they embodied the essence of the characters well.
I think so. I mean, my favorite actor was definitely Morgan Freeman in this.
Oh, he's great.
And guy of what?
Gisborne.
I like those two a lot.
Michael Chislett? Is that what we said his name was?
Yeah.
Wincott. Michael Wincott.
Michael Wincott.
Not Chislett.
He's been in a lot of stuff. Anyway.
And the last thing that I had said was I felt like this was a movie for more than just a particular demographic of person, which is like middle-aged men. I think it was male, female, young, old. And I sat down with my family. We all watched this. And Lucy, my daughter, who's a freshman in high school this year, she, when we talked about it afterwards, like, that was better than I was expecting.
Oh, wow.
Because she's not really into like the action stuff. She'll watch it, but we're in a house with more guys than girls.
Yeah.
So we watch that stuff a lot, and usually she'll like peace out and go do something else that's more like her style. So she watched this with us, and actually she really liked it. It's not going to be one of her favorite films, but I think it had that kind of romantic story. It was fun enough to keep her engaged. So I think some of those things that we like maybe were unexpected coming into it work in its favor for a different demographic.
I think so. I mean, I'm curious to know what other people think about it now, watching it if you hadn't watched this movie before. And, let me know if I'm wrong, but I felt like the acting could have been less dry. Maybe it needed more music or something behind some of the acting.
That Bryan Adams song needed to come in a little earlier.
I don't know, or something else. Maybe
His
a
voice.
different score might have helped. I don't know. I definitely had an expectation that was different going into this time around, and I don't want to say I was disappointed. I was just surprised of a different movie that it actually was in my head than it was in my head.
Yeah. Yep. And now, because I had an image of what it was and nostalgia maybe weighed out a little bit for me, I wasn't, my expectations didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
It was about what I expected in a good way. So for me, my call, I think it holds up.
Yeah. I think, man, I don't know. I don't want to say it holds up. I think it's nostalgia.
Yeah?
I think this is one of those nostalgia movies from our past, from 90s.
And you wouldn't say to somebody who should definitely go back and watch this?
I would say, I don't know if I'd want to say go back and watch it, but I'm not saying it's the greatest movie ever.
I think personally, watch it and you'll love it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if people love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
If you watch it now, let us know. Because if you love it, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But I don't know if people would watch this again today and go, this was, you were right on. This is awesome.
Yeah.
I think they would say, this was something else.
I think you come in with expectation that it's not like the biggest, most epic. It's epic, but it's also fun. And that.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy it. Well, let us know what you think, guys. You can, if you're on Spotify right now, let us know if you scroll to the poll right down below this episode. You'll see a little poll there where you can say, yep, holds up, or you know what, actually, I think this was pure nostalgia.
Yeah.
Josue's got a point.
Let us know.
Or if you want to add a little bit more nuance, you can add that in the comments. You can find links to us on YouTube, on Instagram, on everywhere else, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everywhere.
Anywhere you enjoy podcasts.
At wdyt.show. Yeah, let us know. Okay, one little thing to close Robin Hood here,
okay.
at least for now, is I have a listing here of, let me know, these are ridiculous Robin Hood adaptations. And I want you to tell me, just quick fire, whether they are real or fake. Okay, this one is Robin Hood and the Time Bandits, 1995. When a malfunctioning time machine strands a gang of futuristic outlaws in Sherwood Forest, they join forces with Robin Hood to overthrow Prince John, armed with laser crossbows and a talking falcon.
And a talking falcon. This sounds like a Rick and Morty sketch.
Yeah, real or fake?
Is it from Sliders?
What's that?
It's a show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Sliders, everyone. It's another
1995, Robin and the Time Bandits, you think?
one. I think it's fake.
You're right, it is fake. Robin and the Seven Hoods, 1964. Frank Sinatra as Robin Hood, except it's the 1920s Chicago. And instead of bows and arrows, they've got Tommy guns. This Rat Pack musical reimagines the merry men as gangsters fighting a corrupt sheriff during Prohibition.
I think this is real.
It's real. A legit 1964 movie with Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr.
Dang.
Wow. How about this one?
Sammy Davis Jr. is not a caterpillar?
No, not in that one. Rocket Robin Hood. It's in the 1960s, but this movie is set in the year 3000 when Robin Hood's great-great-great-grandson leads the merry men into outer space, robbing evil space barons and defending the galaxy from the Sheriff of Not, National Outer World Taxation Treasury.
That's fake.
It's real,
It's
Josue.
real? God.
It's now, to be fair, it's a Canadian animated TV series.
Oh, so it's fake. It's from Canada. It's not. It doesn't count.
Ooh, hot take. Canada, he's taking shots.
Tear up me on that.
How about this one? 2012, Robin Hood, Ghosts of Sherwood. After an evil sorcerer curses Sherwood Forest, Robin Hood and his merry men must battle zombie knights and a possessed Maid Marian to stop the undead uprising.
Dude, that sounds like a legit. I would totally watch that, and that's up my alley.
Yeah?
I've started watching The Last of Us again because
The next one.
The next one's coming up. But I gotta say that's fake.
You know what, Josue? That's real.
It's real. I was wrong twice.
Someone made it in 2012, and apparently it's really bad.
I bet. Well, I mean, dang.
Okay, I'll give you this one last one. Robin Hood versus Frankenstein, 2022. A mad scientist takes over Nottingham Castle, and Robin Hood must battle his latest creation, a superhuman monster built from the corpses of fallen soldiers.
This has to be fake.
This is a real
No way.
2022 indie film.
There's only one fake in this whole thing.
I have other ones, but I'm just trying to keep it short. I'm learning lately that my lists are very long.
Jeez.
All right. So I think because officially you failed that quiz, you now have to deliver a dramatic Robin Hood-like speech in a medieval accent,
Oh, gosh.
telling people why they should rob the rich and give to the poor.
Rob the rich and give to the poor.
You're Robin Hood. Inspire us. Stand up on a log and tell off Christian Slater.
We should rob people from
You're not even trying.
being bad. And I mean, that's how kind of
I know. Yeah, that's your Kevin Costner
If it was
impression.
me, I'd be like, we have to band together and no longer stand for the taxation without representation.
Ooh.
And take back what is ours and give it back to every single one of us. Follow me, the man in the hood who is a robin.
To the trees!
To the trees.
Bring the mead.
Oh, do not forget the beer.
All right, everybody.
That was
Finally,
probably a terrible accent, but it was probably right on par with the movie.
I don't know. I think you mocked this, but it's harder than it looks. So.
I mean, Christian Slater?
Yeah.
Did he didn't have an accent either.
No. Little rich boy. Okay, finally today, let us close the loop.
It's like a snake eating its own tail.
This is where we revisit the worst flubs of our past so we can get on the right track for the future. In episode 30, we talked about the Count of Monte Cristo, who has our friend who is now in 3 movies that we have watched. Okay, I want to just correct myself. I don't know where I got my facts. Alexander Dumas lived from 1802 to 1870. He was, as we know, a French author who lived in the 19th century.
Oh, yeah.
I very confidently threw out there that he lived from 1874 to 95, which doesn't make any sense at all. And I don't know where my numbers were from. Okay. Secondly, and these two are music related. So we're building up to, I can't wait to share this with you. Okay. But first, last week, we were trying to sing The Power of Love in the kazoos.
It's the power of love.
And that's all we got. And then I went right to Dave Matthews. Bam, bam, bam.
That's right.
Bam, bam, bam. Okay. But the line that got me into it was, but it might just change your mind. But it might just change your mind. That's the power of love. And then I got it.
Yeah.
Don't need money, don't need fame, don't need a credit card to ride
this train.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, wow. That's a great song.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't really know the verses as well as the chorus, but yeah. Oh man, because I listened back to the episode, I'm like, man, why can't I? But once I got that, might just change your mind. I was like, got it. I'm in it. Okay.
Took you a whole week.
Speaking of music,
Yes.
Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack
that's
Shooters.
right. Yeah, that song.
thing you do, and I was convinced that
It was
this
Mario, right?
sounded so much like a Mario theme, and I couldn't pinpoint it.
Was it Tetris?
The,
No.
It was. This is the tune, and
Okay.
there's a reason you're thinking Tetris.
Yeah, what is that from?
Okay, somebody
I'm so
commented
glad you found
on
out.
the YouTube video.
Really?
Thank God. Okay.
Thank you.
And let us know that it is a song that plays in Super Mario Brothers 3 when you pull somebody else into that little Mario mini game. Remember, you're on the map. Bum-ba-dum, 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 bum-ba-dum.
So I was right.
And they go over your character and you pull them into that little thing where it's all like the little underground level and the spiked guys are coming down from the top. And if you hit the little POW block, they flip over. It's that level.
Oh my gosh.
And I know it so well, but it's like, it's such a little niche thing. It's that little Mario mini game.
Now I want to watch it on YouTube.
I know. I listen to so many Mario themes, just YouTube videos of like the 75 top Mario themes, and I could not figure it out.
Because it's so niche.
Oh man, thank you, internet, because you really came through for me.
Yes. Thank you so much. Wow.
Really
The interwebs is undefeated.
Well, yeah, again, if you want to influence this podcast, either with your own voice, you can shoot us a voice memo recording, and you can send those voice memos to merrymen@wdyt.show.
Maybe you shouldn't marry men, but yeah.
I mean, if you like. But we want your pitch of what we should watch next and why we should watch it. So you can send us a voice memo, or you can just let us know in the comments, because we are, like I said, this epic spring of 2025 is getting more epic. So next week, we're going to be teasing in our mini-sode, which will be a little bit more mini than our last mini-sode, which got a little bit longer, what we're going to be going into. And if I could think of anything more epic,
I'm excited.
This is it. We're just going up the epic scale.
And I think this is a pretty long one, isn't it?
It is another long one. We can't watch an extended one of this because it will take 2 weeks to watch it.
We're trying to make sure we don't watch the extended one.
I don't even know if there is one.
I don't know if there's one either.
Well, by the end of it, we'll have beards like Robin of Locksley and Peter coming out of prison. That was those beards. We didn't talk about those.
That's right. Where did they cut those?
I don't know.
On the ship.
Well, Azim had that big sword once he got it out of his sheath. Anyway, yeah, we would love to hear from you guys in any way possible. And in the meantime, thank you so much to everybody who has liked, commented, shared, and especially taken 5 seconds to give us 5 stars.
Yes.
That is
Thank you
the
so much.
best way to help other people find this amazing podcast, and it's been super helpful.
Yep.
So more good stuff to come.
Awesome.
Right?
Well, that was fun.
That was really fun. I'm glad we watched it, and I don't know the next time I'll watch that movie again,
I don't know.
but I think if I do, I'll enjoy it. Probably more than you.
Probably.
All right, everybody, we'll talk to you next time on What Do You Think of This?
See you guys. Peace out.